Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am Neva, this is Reading with Neva, and today we are going to be filming my 2025 self-destruct video. So I have never actually made a self-destruct video before, but I always do pick out around 12 to 20 books every year that I'm going to read by the end of the year, and if I don't read them, they have to self-destruct. However, I never stick to that, and so they never actually self-destruct. They just go to the next year. So I do have a list here of 16 books sitting down here in front of me. If I'm looking off to the side, it's because I have my iPad with my graphic on it, just to make sure that I'm doing these in that I get all of them, I haven't missed any. But I do have the stack down here on the floor in front of me. So if the stack gets, as the stack gets smaller, I'll have to like lean over to grab books. But we are going to basically just start from the top, and I'm just going to go across in rows. So these are all books that I have, that I own, that I physically, that I've either bought myself or Ryan has bought me, but they were not gifts. So the way that I look at gifts from Ryan specifically is if I know that they were bought for birthday or Christmas, or if I know that he bought them, like there's a few books that he bought just because like I was having a bad day or whatever. Those are considered gifts to me as well. Most of these are actually books that I have purchased for myself at one point or another and just haven't read them. I think there's only, I actually only see three, maybe four. I only see three on here for sure that he purchased, but they were not gifts. So I have 16 books here, and we're going to go through them. I'm going to not probably give synopses of each of them, but I'm going to give you a reason as to why I want to read it, how long it's been on my shelf. So the first one I have is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. If you've been on my channel since the beginning, I had a goal to read all of Colleen Hoover's backlist by my 31st birthday, something like that. And that didn't happen. So my first year on YouTube, I was like, I'm going to read all of Colleen Hoover's backlist. I was really in like a Colleen Hoover era. I understand she's problematic. I kind of knew that when I started, but Colleen Hoover is what helped me get back into reading. So I had read like It Ends With Us, I had read Verity, and then I was like, I'm going to read the whole backlist. So I've read most of her backlist. However, I have this series and one other series that I need to finish. So I need to either read these books or get them off my shelf. In all reality, I probably will not unhaul my Colleen Hoover collection. And the reason is because I do own every Colleen Hoover backlist book, like every book that she's ever published, with the exception of two. I do not own, or three, I'm sorry. I do not own Heartbones, I do not own November 9, and I do not own Reminders of Him, but I do own every other Colleen Hoover book, so I probably will not unhaul this, but I at least need to decide if I'm going to continue this series or not, because I do own the entire thing. So this book, I don't really know what this is about. I know that this book and then the next, like this book is from the girl's point of view and the next book is in the boy's point of view, like the main male character's point of view. So that's what we have. So Colleen Hoover Hopeless is the first one. The next one I have is, oh, and it's been on my shelf. It's been on my TBR since 2020, but I think, but it's, I don't remember, because this was on my shelf like when it was originally, yeah, probably 2020, because when it was originally on Kindle Unlimited. But it's been on my physical TBR, or my physical shelf, since April of 2023. I bought this when I was visiting Reni. The next one I have is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is the book that he published, I believe, this year, maybe last year. I know I bought it this year, which is why I'm thinking it's a 2024. Yeah, so this book just came out this year. I meant to read this during spooky season and I just didn't get to it. I know that this is the first Riley Sager book that's ever been written from a male's point of view, which is crazy to me because he does usually write women as main characters. So yeah, I need to read this book. Will I unhaul this? I don't know, but I at least need to try this book out. Riley Sager and Grady Hendrix are two of my all-time favorite thriller horror writers. So I do own most of their backlists as well, so I don't know if I will actually unhaul this, but I at least need to try and read it and decide if I want to keep it or not. I actually really do like the cover of this. I think it's really cool, but middle of the night. The next one I have is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I actually do have two versions of this book. So I have the original like hardcover, and then I also have this version, which this is the softbound Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I probably will read this version of it just because I love the way that they're like, they have like the speckled edges and it just looks and feels like a journal. So this one is a cozy fantasy that I have had on my shelf since 2000. I think I bought this my birthday of 2023. I got this for I got this as like a 50% off, like buy one get one 50% off. It was on that table. And I keep telling myself I'm going to read this. I own the first two books in this series, and I plan on ordering the third book, but I need to read the first book before I order the third book. And I'm like, yeah, because I do want all of the Barnes & Noble special editions in this series because I think that they're so pretty. However, I can't justify ordering more of the Barnes & Noble editions of these if I don't like the first one. And I believe I will be buddy reading this one with my bestie Brittany this year because she also wants to read it. The next one on my list has been on my TBR since the beginning of time. It's been on my TBR since I think 2022. The besties were all supposed to read this together. I believe some of them did. Like I think Reni read it, I think Brittany read it, but I don't know that Kelsey read it, and I know I didn't read it, but I bought it to read as buddy read, and then decided I wasn't in the mood for it. And that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have not read any books by this author. This thing is a chunk. I've heard that it's really dense. I do own the audio for this as well, so I'm sure this is going to be an immersion reading experience, but I need to decide if I even want to keep this book. This one, I will unhaul. If I do not read this or I give it lower than like 3.5 stars, I won't continue the series, and then I will unhaul this one. So remember that when I come back at the end of next year and we talk about it. The next one I have has actually been on my TBR for a few years, but it has not been on my physical TBR until this year, and I bought it during, well, maybe not during, but I bought it from the indie bookstore here in town, and that is The Cruel Prince. I actually did get a hefty discount on this book. I think I paid $3 for it because I had credit at my indie bookstore, but this is by Holly Black. The only Holly Black book I have tried to read was called, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one that was like her adult debut. It wasn't good, I'm gonna be honest. For an adult book, it read very YA. If it had been a YA book, I would have liked it, but I DNF'd that. But people are telling me I should read The Cruel Prince, that she's a great YA fantasy writer, so we have The Cruel Prince. This is the only one that I own. I know that currently, at the time of filming this, which is, I don't know what day, Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, this book is on Kindle Unlimited. I have it downloaded to my Kindle. I probably will read it that way, but I may. The font is nice, and there's some like illustrations in here. Did I just see an illustration? Am I tripping? I think I just saw an illustration, but I actually kind of like the way that the book looks. Like, it has these really cute like headers for the chapters and like really cute like page break graphics. So I may choose to read this. Oh, actually I might choose to read this physically because like it also has like this in it, which is really pretty. So yeah, I may choose to read this physically, but The Cruel Prince is another one. And if I don't like this, I probably will unhaul it. I only own the first one, so there's that. The next one I have is There Is No Devil. This is by Sophie Lark. I only bought There Are No Saints, There Is No Devil. I only bought this duet this year. I bought it at Walmart. However, I read There Are No Saints in 2022, and I did give it 5 stars. I really did like it. It was really good. And then I just never moved on. I never finished the duology. This is going to be like a thing that y'all see with me. I'm not good at finishing series, whether they're duologies, whether they're 10 books long. I'm not good at it because I don't want the story to end. So there's this one, There Is No Devil. I probably will reread There Are No Saints. This is also illustrated. Let me find an illustration that's like safe for work. There might not be one, to be honest, because that one's not safe for work at all. But the other one is also illustrated. These are not safe for YouTube. The other ones, my copy of There Are No Saints is also has illustrations in it. Here, this one's okay. She's dressed. So they have like illustrations in them. And so I probably will read them for the illustration experience. Also, they're really thin. I do know that my friend Brianna from 4 Paws in a Book has read both of these books in this duology, and she said she didn't really like this one as much, but I probably will reread the first one. If I end up having to unhaul this, I will have to unhaul both books. I won't keep just the first one. So I'm really hoping that I like this one enough. Basically, I'll unhaul if I either DNF or it's lower than 3.5 stars. So I'm hoping that this is at least a 3.5 because then I can keep the duology on my shelf. The next one I have is A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This is a memoir by Lady Trent. I know that this is an entire series. I didn't actually know that when I bought this book. I thought it was just this book. But yeah, there's a whole series now. And this one came out in 2013. However, I didn't buy it until 2023. This was another like buy one, get one 50% off. So I need to read this. I need to decide if I'm going to read the entire series or if I'm going to just read this as a standalone. I don't know if this ends like in a cliffhanger or not. I know that my friend Danny from Danny Dabbles, she really likes this series. So that's actually how I found out it was a series, was watching her channel. And then I think there's like 5 books in the series or something. So I need to decide. If I decide that this was good enough, then I'll keep just this book. Otherwise, I will buy the rest of them. The next one I have was also bought from Barnes & Noble in 2023. A lot of these are like birthday haul books from 2023 that I bought myself. And that is The Shadow Regent by Chad Corey. I know nothing about this book. I bought this book because of the cover. I thought that the cover was awesome. So this doesn't even have, at least that I could find, there could be one now, but when I was trying to find it, you can't find it on Libby as an ebook and there's no audio. So I will probably just read this one physically and just give myself the time that I need to finish it. But that's the next one. Then we have The High Mountain Court, which is book 1 of The 5 Crowns of Ockrith by A.K. Mulford. This is also a Barnes & Noble 2023 purchase. I need to read this. This has been on many a TBR. Y'all have seen this book on so many TBRs. It's actually sickening in the last year, okay? I can think of at least 6 TBRs that this has been on. That means that this has been on half of my TBRs of 2024, and I still have not read it. Every month, I don't read it, and it's ridiculous. And I can get this one as an ebook from my library. I don't know if I can get an audio or not, but it's fine, because we have a goal next year. I don't think I put this in my goals video, but just for reference, we have a goal next year of reading 1 book at a time instead of 12 books at a time, because we're going to go slower next year. Okay, the next one I have is also a 2023 birthday haul purchase. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. This was actually the first paperback book I'd ever seen with sprayed edges, and that is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I have read nothing by this author, and before anyone comes at me in the comments, I'm aware that this author is problematic. This is why this book didn't make it onto my 25 in 2025 list and made it instead onto my self-destruct list, because then I can decide if I am in fact going to continue reading this author or if I'm not. So I am of Native American descent. I don't talk about it a lot just because I don't know. I know some about that side of my heritage from my aunt, who's now passed away. May she rest in peace, love her so much. Because she was very into that side of our heritage, but I don't like go around like advertising it a lot or anything like that, just because it feels weird to me. So yeah, I understand that there is some issue with this author writing in an indigenous voice when he is in fact a white man. However, I really want to read In the Lives of Puppets, which I know is a Pinocchio retelling, but I want to read the book that I already own by him before I buy that one, so I haven't bought that. And so I want to read this, see if I like it, and if I do, then I will move on to other books by this author. So there we go. The next one I have is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This has been on my TBR since 2020. However, it was just bought for me in 2024. Ryan bought this because I saw it and I was like, oh, I really want this series. And they have rebranded, they've redone the hardcovers, I think maybe the softcovers too, but I prefer my fantasy and hardcover. And they did they're doing the fully revised new material, like 10th anniversary editions of these books, and I really love these covers. I want them all, but I need to read the first one. I have read Priory of the Orange Tree by this author. I need to read the second book in that series, which I do also own, but it was given to me as a gift, so it can't be on a 2025 Self-Destruct. And I loved Priory of the Orange Tree. I gave it 4.75 stars, and so I'm hoping to also love this. I know that this is a backlist book. I think this might have been the first series she ever wrote, but it is, yeah, and there's 2, 4, I think 7 books in this series. And then The Roots of Chaos is Day of Fall Night and Priory of the Orange Tree. I've read Priory of the Orange Tree, but not Day of Fall Night. And then this is like set in the future. This is set in 2059. So I'm really ready to read that, which 2059 is not that far away. I'm just saying. The next one I have is also one that was bought in 2024. I bought this simply for the sprayed edges. Look at them. And that is 5 Broken Blades. This one has also been on many a TBR, which is ridiculous. Stop it, right? Okay, so we're going to read this one this year. This is by Mia Corland. I'm sorry. And I'm going to read this one. I know that there is an audio for this. I've heard it's not good. Honestly, I bought it because, like, look at this detailing on the inside. It's just so pretty. Honestly, the outside is beautiful. Like, it's just a really pretty book. And that is why I bought it, because this is a Red Tower book. And are Red Tower books good? That is for us to decide. And so I will be reading this. Like, look at the map, you guys. Like, come on. So I will be reading this year. And if it's not good, then I probably won't unhaul it. I'll be honest, because the edges. I can't unhaul a pretty book, but I will at least know that it wasn't for me. The next one I have is also a sprayed edges book, and this is Gothicana by Runix. I've not read anything by this author. I do want to read the Predator series this year as well. I don't know what that series is actually called, but the first book is called Predator. This book is tabbed because Reni and I were supposed to read this last year, aired in 2024. We were supposed to buddy read this. So it's still tabbed for when we decide that we're going to buddy read it, because Reni has so many special editions of this book, and she's never actually read it. Which, you know what? I don't judge her, because she's my bestie, and like, you should buy all of the pretty books. But this is sectioned out so we can finish it in 5 days. So I have to get with Reni. I have to find out when we're going to read this book. But I do need to read this year, or it's got to go. The next one I have is One Dark Window. Now, this is on my Self-Destruct, and I'm going to explain, because people also know that Ari gave this to me for Mother's Day, so theoretically it is not actually going to be unhauled. I apologize if the angle has changed. I might need to zoom. My camera died. So anyway, this one was given to me by Ari for Mother's Day, One Dark Window. She originally bought me Bride, and no. So she didn't know. So I told her that I'd already read it, because I DNF'd it. And we went back to the store, returned it, and I let her pick out 2 books. So she picked out this one, and then she picked out something else that I can't think of right now. But this one was given to me by Ari. However, I do want to buy the second book, and I can't do that until I read the first book, which this is on Kindle Unlimited at the time of me filming this. So if I like this book, I'll buy the second book. It will not be unhauled. This one is simply on the Self-Destruct for me to decide if I'm going to buy the second book. And then the last one that I have for my self-destruct was also bought in 2024. This was bought one of the times that I went, actually the first time that I went to Barnes & Noble with my brother. So this was bought in August of 2024, and we went to Barnes & Noble for his birthday, and I got one Cursed Rose. This is by Rebecca Zanetti. I know this is going to become a series because there is a second book slated for 2025, I believe. So I need to read this. Also, Bestie Brittany read this and loved it. I could not find the hardcover version of this that has like the sprayed edges. I don't even know if they still carry it. If they do and I can find it, I will buy it if I like this one. But this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. We love a retelling, so I will be reading that. So that is all 16. I almost said 26. Absolutely not. That is all 16 of my self-destruct books. The way that my 2025 self-destruct will work is every month I will spin. I've already done my January, so January TBR will be coming out soon. But every month I will be spinning for a self-destruct book and 2 of my 25 in 2025 books. So that is how we're going to do it this year. That way I can make sure that I am in fact reading everything. So the first self-destruct book that I will actually be reading is Shadow and Bone, which somehow I never held up. So just know that I also have to read Shadow and Bone, but I'm not sure where that book is. Somehow we missed it. Let me see if it's in here. It is not. Okay, well, I don't know where that is, but just know that Shadow and Bone is also on this list. It should have come after the Bone season, so I apologize for that. But Shadow and Bone is also on this list. That one, I own the entire series for that, and I've been told that the Shadow and Bone trilogy itself is not as good as the rest of the books in the Grishaverse. So but I want to get through Shadow and Bone before I move on to like the other books, just simply because I want to read the books in order, because that's who I am as a person. But I already own that entire series. So okay, so that is all that I have. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have a 2025 self-destruct list and what is on it, or let me know some of your goals for 2025. Or if you don't really have anything that you want to say, go ahead and leave me some kind of fantasy emoji, because there's a lot of fantasy on this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 of these books are fantasy. Only 3 are not. So leave me some kind of fantasy emoji down below. A wizard, a dragon, a fairy, a wand, whatever you think of when you think of fantasy, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.